The rain pounded the roof of Mom's garage like 1,000 tiny fists, each drop screaming secrets we weren't ready to share. I stood there, 24, heart racing, staring at my stepsister Lily, who was oblivious to the storm brewing between us. By the end of that night, she'd shatter everything I thought I knew about love. My name's Emma, and I've spent years building walls around my heart, brick by brick, to keep it safe. Growing up in suburban Ohio, I learned early that being openly queer wasn't exactly a ticket to acceptance. My mom, Diane, tried her best, but her new husband, Tom, and his perfect daughter, Lily, brought a whole new set of rules to our blended family. Lily, 22, with her golden hair and easy smile, was everything I wasn't: poised, popular, and painfully straight. Or so I thought. We'd been stepsisters for 3 years, sharing a house, holidays, and the occasional argument over who left dishes in the sink. But that summer something shifted, like a fault line trembling beneath the surface. It was July, and the air in Columbus was thick with humidity. Mom and Tom were away for the weekend, leaving Lily and me to fend for ourselves in their sprawling, slightly cluttered house. I'd always found refuge in the garage, a sanctuary of grease-stained tools and the skeleton of a '67 Mustang I'd been restoring since high school. That night I was elbow-deep in the engine, my leather jacket slung over a chair, when Lily appeared in the doorway, her silhouette framed by the fading daylight. "Emma, you're gonna ruin your nails again," she teased, her voice light but carrying an edge I couldn't place. She wore a white blouse that clung to her in the heat, her blonde hair loose and catching the glow of the string lights I'd hung last summer. "I don't care about my nails," I muttered, wiping sweat from my brow with the back of my hand. "What do you want, Lily? Thought you were out with your cheerleader squad." She stepped inside, her sneakers scuffing the concrete floor. "They bailed. And I don't know. I just wanted to see what you're always doing out here." Her eyes flickered to the Mustang, then back to me, curious, like she was seeing me for the first time. I snorted, turning back to the engine. "It's not a spectator sport. Unless you're here to hand me a wrench." To my surprise, she grabbed one from the toolbox and held it out, her fingers brushing mine as I took it. The touch was electric, a spark that made my breath catch. I told myself it was nothing, just the heat, the long day, the way her perfume lingered in the air. But when I looked up, her blue eyes were locked on mine, and for a moment the world stopped. "Emma," she said softly, "why do you always hide out here?" I froze. No one had ever asked me that, not Mom, not my friends, not even myself. The garage was my escape, my shield against a world that didn't always understand me. But how could I explain that to Lily, who seemed to glide through life without a care? "It's just easier," I said finally, my voice barely above a whisper. She stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath. "Easier than what?" My heart pounded. I wanted to tell her everything: how I'd watched her from afar, how her laugh made my chest ache, how I'd spent years convincing myself she'd never feel the same. But I didn't. Instead, I turned back to the car, muttering, "You wouldn't get it." Lily didn't move. "Try me," she said, her voice steady but laced with something new, something daring. I looked at her again, and this time I saw it. A flicker of doubt in her eyes, like she was questioning everything she'd ever known. It was the first crack in the perfect facade she wore, and it terrified me as much as it thrilled me. I didn't know it then, but that moment was the beginning of everything: every heartbreak, every hope, every impossible dream. The rain kept falling, sealing us in that garage like a secret the universe wasn't ready to share. I set the wrench down, my hands trembling. "Lily, why are you really here?" She hesitated, her lips parting as if she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Then, in a move that stole my breath, she reached out and touched my arm, her fingers lingering longer than they should have. "I don't know," she whispered. "But I think I need to find out." That night, the garage became more than a refuge. It became the place where our worlds collided, where the lines between stepsisters and something more blurred into chaos. I didn't know if I was ready for what came next, but one thing was clear: Lily wasn't as straight as I'd thought, and I was in deeper than I'd ever been before. The air in the garage grew heavier, the rain outside a relentless drumbeat that matched the pulse in my chest. Lily's hand was still on my arm, her touch a question I wasn't sure I could answer. I stepped back, breaking the contact, because if I didn't, I'd drown in the possibilities her eyes were offering. Lily, don't, I said, my voice rougher than I meant. You don't know what you're doing. Her brow furrowed, hurt flashing across her face. What's that supposed to mean? I'm not a kid, Emma. I know what I feel. Do you? I snapped, turning to face her fully. The string lights cast shadows across her features, making her look both fragile and fierce. You've got your perfect life, your perfect friends, your perfect boyfriend. What are you doing messing around in my world? She flinched, but she didn't back down. His name's Jake, and he's not my boyfriend anymore. We broke up last week. Her voice cracked and she looked away, her fingers twisting the hem of her blouse. And my life's not perfect. You think it is because you never ask. I opened my mouth to argue, but the words died on my lips. She was right, I'd never asked. I'd assumed Lily's life was a glossy magazine spread, all cheerleading trophies and prom queen smiles. But standing there, her shoulders hunched, she looked like someone carrying a weight I'd never bothered to notice. I'm sorry, I said, softer now. I don't get why you're here saying this stuff. You're straight, Lily. You've always been straight. She laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that didn't suit her. Yeah, that's what I thought too. But then I started noticing things. Like how I feel when I'm around you. How I can't stop thinking about you, even when I try. She took a step closer, her eyes searching mine. Emma, I'm scared, okay? But I'm not lying. My heart lurched. I wanted to believe her, wanted to grab her and pull her close and never let go. But fear clawed at me, fear of what this meant. Fear of ruining the fragile balance of our family. Fear that she'd wake up tomorrow and change her mind. Lily, this isn't a game. If we do this, it's not just some experiment. Not for me. I know, she whispered. That's why I'm here. I need to know what this is. What we could be. Before I could respond, the garage door rattled and we both froze. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway cut through the rain. Mom and Tom weren't supposed to be back until Sunday, but there they were, headlights piercing the dusk. Panic surged through me. Go, I hissed, shoving Lily toward the side door. If they see us like this, she grabbed my hand, her grip firm. I'm not ashamed, Emma. I'm not running. But I was. I pulled away, my chest tight, and bolted for the side door, leaving her standing there under the string lights. By the time I reached my room, my hands were shaking, and my mind was a mess of what ifs. What if Mom found out? What if Tom kicked me out? What if Lily was just confused and I was about to lose everything? The next morning, the house felt like a minefield. Mom was in the kitchen, humming as she made coffee, oblivious to the chaos in my head. Tom was reading the paper, grumbling about the rain. Lily, though she was quiet, her eyes catching mine across the breakfast table, full of questions I didn't know how to answer. We're going to the farmer's market later, Mom said, oblivious to the tension. You girls want to come? I've got work, I lied, pushing my plate away. The truth was I needed space, needed to figure out what Lily's words meant and how I could survive wanting her. Lily didn't say anything, but her foot brushed mine under the table, deliberate and fleeting. My breath hitched and I stood abruptly, muttering about needing to check on the Mustang. The garage was my safe haven again, but now it was tainted with the memory of her touch, her words, her impossible promise. That afternoon I was under the car, tightening bolts, when Lily's voice broke the silence. You can't avoid me forever, Emma. I slid out, grease smudged on my cheek, and glared up at her. I'm not avoiding you. I'm working. You're hiding, she said, crouching beside me. And I get it. This is scary. But I meant what I said last night. I'm not playing games. I sat up, wiping my hands on a rag. Lily, you don't know what you're asking for. You've never had to deal with the looks, the whispers, the way people treat you when you're like me. Then show me, she said, her voice fierce. Let me in, Emma. Let me understand. I wanted to scream, to tell her it wasn't that simple, that love like this came with a cost. But her eyes were so earnest, so full of something I'd spent years dreaming of, that I couldn't push her away again. Instead, I stood, grabbed her hand, and pulled her toward the Mustang. Fine, I said. But if we're doing this, we're doing it my way. My way meant taking it slow, keeping it secret, and guarding my heart like it was made of glass. But Lily had other ideas. That night, after Mom and Tom went to bed, she snuck out to the garage again, her footsteps soft against the concrete. I was polishing the Mustang's hood, trying to lose myself in the work when she slipped in, closing the door behind her. "Emma," she said, her voice low, "we need to talk." I didn't look up. "We talked last night. And this morning. What's left to say?" "Everything." She moved closer, her shadow falling over the car. "You're acting like I'm gonna break your heart before we even start." I set the rag down, my hands trembling. "Maybe you will. You ever think about that? You're figuring yourself out, Lily. I've been out since I was 16. I know what this world does to people like me." She reached for my hand, but I pulled back, crossing my arms. Her face fell, but she didn't retreat. "I'm not saying it's easy," she said. "But I'm not some straight girl experimenting. I've been thinking about you for months. Maybe longer. I just didn't know how to say it." Her words hit me like a punch, unraveling the defenses I'd built. I wanted to believe her, but doubt gnawed at me. What happens when you change your mind? When your friends find out and laugh, or when Mom and Tom flip? You gonna stand by me then? She stepped closer, her eyes blazing. "Yes, I will. I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I know I want this. I want you." The air between us crackled, and before I could stop myself, I closed the distance, my lips crashing into hers. The kiss was desperate, hungry, like we'd both been starving for it. Her hands found my waist, pulling me closer, and for a moment, the world outside the garage didn't exist. It was just us, tangled in each other, the Mustang a silent witness to our reckless leap. When we finally pulled apart, breathless, her forehead rested against mine. "I'm not going anywhere," she whispered. But the world had a way of intruding. The next day, I caught Mom watching us at breakfast, her eyes narrowing as Lily's hand brushed mine while passing the orange juice. "You two are getting awfully close," she said, her tone light but probing. "Just bonding," Lily said with a smile, but her foot nudged mine under the table again, a secret promise. I tried to keep my cool, but the fear was back, sharper now. If Mom suspected anything, Tom would too, and he wasn't exactly the progressive type. His church group had been pushing family values hard lately, and I'd heard him mutter about those people more than once. The thought of him finding out about us made my stomach churn. That week, we stole moments in the garage, late-night talks that turned into kisses, her laughter filling the spaces where my doubts lived. But the secrecy was suffocating. I wanted to hold her hand in public, to tell the world she was mine, but every time I thought about it, I saw Mom's suspicious glance, Tom's disapproving frown, the judgment waiting just outside our bubble. Then it happened. Friday night, we were in the garage again, my hands on her hips, her lips on my neck, when the door flew open. Tom stood there, his face a mask of shock and rage. "What the hell is this?" he roared. Lily jumped back, her face pale, but I stepped in front of her, my heart pounding. "It's none of your business, Tom." "None of my business?" he spat. "This is my house, Emma. And you're corrupting my daughter." "She's not your daughter," I shot back, my voice shaking. "And I'm not corrupting anyone. We love each other." The word slipped out before I could stop it, and Lily's eyes widened, her hand finding mine. Tom's face turned red, and for a moment I thought he might hit me. But he just pointed at the door. "Get out. Both of you." Lily's grip tightened. "Dad, no. You can't." "I can and I will," he said, his voice cold. "I won't have this in my house." We left, grabbing what we could and piling into my beat-up Civic. The rain was back, blurring the windshield as we drove to a cheap motel on the edge of town. In the dim light of the room, Lily curled up against me, her tears soaking my shirt. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't think it would happen this fast." I held her, my own eyes burning. "It's not your fault. But we're in this now. Together." The motel room smelled of stale coffee and regret, but Lily's warmth against me was the only thing keeping me grounded. We'd been kicked out, disowned by Tom, and Mom hadn't called, which hurt more than I'd expected. I wanted to be strong for Lily, but inside I was unraveling, terrified of what came next. The next morning we sat on the lumpy bed, eating vending machine snacks and trying to make a plan. "We can't stay here forever," I said, staring at the peeling wallpaper. "I've got some savings, but it won't last long." Lily nodded, her eyes red from crying. "I can get a job. I was supposed to start at a boutique downtown next month, but I'll call them, see if I can start sooner." I reached for her hand, squeezing it. You don't have to do this alone. We'll figure it out. But figuring it out wasn't easy. We moved into a tiny apartment above a laundromat, the kind of place where the walls were thin and the heat barely worked. I took extra shifts at the auto shop, coming home greasy and exhausted, while Lily worked retail, her smile fading a little more each day. The world outside our apartment wasn't kind. Her old friends ghosted her, and whispers followed us at the grocery store. But in the quiet moments when it was just us, we found something worth fighting for. One night, after a particularly brutal day, Lily pulled me onto the couch, her head resting on my shoulder. "Do you ever regret this?" she asked, her voice small. I tilted her chin up, meeting her eyes. "Not for a second. You're worth it, Lily. All of this is worth it." She kissed me then, soft and slow, and for a moment the world felt right. But the weight of our reality never lifted. Mom finally called, her voice strained, asking us to come to dinner to talk things over. I didn't trust it, but Lily wanted to go, desperate for a piece of the family we'd lost. The dinner was a disaster. Tom barely looked at us, and Mom kept trying to steer the conversation to neutral topics like the weather. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Mom, why are we here? Are you gonna pretend nothing happened?" She sighed, setting down her fork. "I just want my family back together. But this thing between you two, it's not right." Lily's hand found mine under the table, her grip tight. "It's not a thing, Mom. It's love. And if you can't accept that, then we don't have a family." Tom slammed his hand on the table, making the glasses rattle. "Enough. You're both confused, and I won't let you drag this family down with you." We left before dessert, the door slamming behind us. In the car, Lily broke down, her sobs shaking her whole body. I pulled her close, whispering, "We don't need them. We've got each other." But the truth was, I wasn't sure that was enough. The world kept throwing punches, bills piled up. My boss gave me grief for missing a shift, and Lily's old life kept pulling at her. One night, I found her staring at her phone, a text from an old friend begging her to come back to normal. My heart sank, fear whispering that she might leave me, that this was too hard for her. "Lily," I said, my voice barely steady, "if you want out, tell me now. I can't keep waiting for you to change your mind." She looked up, tears in her eyes, and crossed the room to me. "I'm not going anywhere, Emma. I chose you. I'll keep choosing you." Her words anchored me, but the fear lingered. We were building something fragile, something the world seemed determined to break. And then one freezing December night, everything changed again. Winter in Columbus was brutal, the cold seeping into our bones and our tiny apartment. But Lily and I had carved out a life together, flawed and messy but ours. We'd found a rhythm, shared dinners, late-night talks, stolen kisses that still made my heart race. But the past wasn't done with us. It started with a letter from Mom, slipped under our door like a ghost from another life. She wanted to meet alone at a coffee shop downtown. No Tom, no judgment, just her. I didn't want to go, but Lily convinced me, her hope stronger than my cynicism. "Maybe she's coming around," she said, squeezing my hand. The coffee shop was warm, crowded with holiday shoppers, and Mom looked older than I remembered, lines etched deeper around her eyes. She hugged me, awkward and stiff, and we sat in silence for a moment, the weight of everything unsaid between us. "I miss you," she said finally. "Both of you. I don't understand this, but I don't want to lose my daughters." I wanted to believe her, but trust was hard to rebuild. "What about Tom?" I asked. "He made it clear we're not welcome." She sighed, stirring her coffee. "He's struggling, but I'm working on him. I just need time." Time. It was the one thing we didn't have. Lily and I were barely scraping by, and the constant judgment from the world was wearing us down. But Mom's words sparked something in me, a tiny flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, we could have a family again. That night, I told Lily about the meeting, and her face lit up. "See? I told you. We just have to keep fighting." And we did. We fought through the whispers, the bills, the cold nights when the heater gave out. We fought for every moment we stole together, every laugh, every touch. And slowly things started to shift. Lily got a better job at a bookstore, and I landed a gig restoring vintage cars for a collector. We started talking about the future, moving somewhere new, maybe California, where we could be ourselves without fear. Then one spring evening, Mom showed up at our apartment alone. She looked nervous, clutching a small box. "I found this in the garage," she said, handing it to me. Inside was a photo of Lily and me from our first summer as stepsisters, laughing in the backyard, before everything got complicated. "I want you to have it," she said. "And I want you both to come home for dinner next week." Tom's agreed to try. It wasn't perfect and it wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was a start. That night, Lily and I sat on our tiny balcony, the photo between us, and I realized something. Love wasn't just the spark in the garage or the kisses we stole. It was the fight, the choice to keep going, to build something real despite the world's attempts to tear it down. We went to that dinner, and it was awkward, full of stilted conversation and Tom's grudging tolerance. But we went again the next week and the week after that. Slowly the walls came down, not just with Mom but with us. Lily and I grew stronger. Our love a quiet rebellion against a world that didn't always understand. Years later we'd moved to San Francisco, where we'd hold hands in public without fear. Where we'd build a life full of laughter and grease-stained overalls and bookshelves overflowing with Lily's favorites. The garage where it all began would become a memory, a story we'd tell with smiles, about the night my straight stepsister did the bravest thing of all. She chose me and we chose each other against all odds. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.